friends. Well, I almost bought a StepVan. You know what? I gotta be honest, I never really actually almost bought a StepVan. I seriously considered buying a StepVan. I saw one on Craigslist and I thought, wow, that's got a lot of potential. As you can see in the pictures, it's really well maintained. The body's looking really good. It looks in really good shape. And I seriously did consider it, to the point where I made some pros and cons to myself to think, do I really want to go through with this? The pros, well, let's talk about the price. It was $14,888. Who picks a price like that? Anyway, it was $14,888, and just a reminder, that's in Canadian, and everything up here is priced way differently than the US. So, and I think I emailed them just to inquire because, they didn't put the amount of kilometers. 190,000 kilometers. So that's a little bit more than I want, to buy a vehicle. So I'm going to address some of the pros and cons. First, I'm going to start with the cons. This thing has big wheels, which is going to negatively affect the fuel economy. And you can see that these are actually quite heavy-duty steel wheels, and that definitely has a significant effect on the fuel economy. I don't want to spend money on gas if I don't have to. Right now, our fuel prices in Vancouver are probably the most expensive in North America, and they're talking about possibly going up to like $2 a liter in the summer. So that could be like, roughly $8 a gallon. If you say 4 liters is approximately a gallon, $8. So you got to think about, do you really want to spend money on fuel it's just money out the window. So if you can buy something that's a little bit more fuel efficient, that's the direction I would go. So not only are the wheels a problem, but it's a box, right? And you literally have no aerodynamics. It's just like a brick you're pushing through the air. So highway speeds, whatever, you're going to be having a lot of wind resistance. So that's another kind of con against it. Another one, and the big one for me, probably the number one thing, among the really important no-nos for me, is it's getting hotter and hotter. And, in terms of our global temperatures are increasing. You can argue that with me if you want, but I do believe global warming is a reality. So do 97% of scientists, yada, yada, yada. Anyway, I've noticed last summer was one of the hottest summers I can remember. And if you're living in a van, you have to prepare and think about what it's like in the extremes, right? So in the winter, it can be extremely cold. In the summer, it can be extremely hot. And it makes it challenging because you want to have the vehicle capable of being able to take on both of those extremes, and yet you still be hopefully comfortable. So my thing is maximum airflow. And that's why I really like, on a regular van, you open the rear doors out. You have the slider, which is like 4 feet wide, and if you get a high top, it could be like 6 or 7 feet tall. That is a lot of airflow. With a box truck, you can't do that. Well, you could if you just open up the rear door, but I don't think that would work for me, and this is why. In Vancouver, it rains like crazy. And I have a strong suspicion that those rear doors are not going to seal properly. The door that rolls down, You're really going to tell me that that's going to be 100% watertight on the floor? No, I doubt it. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it could be, but I just don't think it would be. So what I would want to do is I would want to seal that door permanently, which would mean, where's my airflow? You could put like a skylight sunroof opening thing in the, like a hatch at the top, but the idea is to get the air from point A to point B and move it through the van. And even with a roof opening, I don't think it would be as good as having a large sliding door and then rear doors of the wind or air going right through it. That would be like, it's essentially like you're sitting outside, and you really can't hope for better temperature than just sitting outside, right? Especially in the shade. So unless of course you have air conditioning, which, is we all know on the van situation, is quite challenging. So I would have to have the rear, I'd want to seal the rear doors, and I'd want to insulate it. That brings me to another con. After that noisy car goes by. If you do want to use, because one thing I thought, well, what about if you made it so it's like semi-permanently sealed? So you put some kind of material on the bottom so that maybe something removable. I want to say Dicor, but not really. Something more economical and less messy. But some way to seal it, and then in the summer you could unseal it, because in the summer it doesn't rain that much. So you could have it. I would be okay with it being semi-sealed in the summer. Oh, like alliteration. So then you could do it so you could like unbuild it or deconstruct it when it comes to winter, make it really well insulated. Comes to summer, take all the insulation out, or so that you can unseal it. The problem is the roof. Because if you want to insulate it for the winter, that's a roll-up door. You roll it up, there's no space. I mean, unless you use like maybe a 1/4 inch of insulation, and I just don't think that's going to be effective. So that is another kind of con against it. It's hard to insulate that roof if you want to have the roll-up door for the summer. So if that door was permanently closed, the rear door is permanently closed, then you essentially have one door to access it. And being a StepVan, of course, there's probably no passenger seat, which is actually another con. If you want to take, occasionally I do bring friends or whatever in my van, and we drive to places or whatever. One of my friends doesn't drive a vehicle. So, that's a con, not having a seat. You could put one in. So if you had a StepVan, you would if the door was completely sealed, how are you going to get your propane in there? How are you going to get your water? And then I have bass gear and musical equipment. There's only one door, and so I'd be basically taking it through the passenger side door, and that would be a pain in the neck, and I wouldn't want to do that. So those are some of the cons. One other one I thought of. This doesn't apply to most people, but in my work situation, I have to be conscious of what I'm driving to work. If I roll up in a StepVan, my fellow employees are going to look at me and say, "What the heck are you driving?" And then I'm going to go, Now, if I was Johnny Construction Worker, or, something where it really didn't matter, most people, it's not an issue, but I have a professional career and I cannot show up in a StepVan. I mean, I could, but there would definitely be questions, and it puts me under a microscope, and not good. It could affect my livelihood. So I have to have a semi-stealthy vehicle, which really means it's got to be a van. It's got to be a van. Okay, let's talk about some pros. Lots of space, tons of space, like, 11 feet by, in terms of the depth, you got 11 or 12 feet in the box, and then you have full standing height. Another pro is that everything's straight. The walls are straight. There's no issues. So easy to insulate. Other things, got a flat roof. Super easy to put solar on there. Just stack it up. That would be super easy. And generally, another thing is, these boxes tend to be well built. They're like industrial, heavy duty. It's not like some flimsy made in China steel or whatever. I mean, probably is made in China, let's be honest, but it's got a feeling of sturdiness and heavy dutiness that you're not going to get in like a standard passenger van. Other thing is, if you intend to keep it long term, there's a lot less rubber to wear out. So if, with a van, you have to worry about the rubber seals. Like my friend Chuck, his van, some of the seals, I mean, it's a 40-year-old van, so the rubber deteriorates over time. But with this StepVan, you have a lot less of that because the doors are completely different. So you don't have to worry about that. Another thing you could do as kind of a pro is, like, and some people might mention this, is you could install a door, a different kind of a door, like a swing out door, barn doors, I guess they call them. You can even get an RV door and put it in. I would want to pay someone to do that because it's probably not that complicated, but I'm just not confident enough to take something like that on and cutting a huge hole in the side of your truck. And if you get it wrong and you don't have the right tools to keep everything level and square, nah, it's easier. It's better just to pay someone to do it, which means it's going to be probably in the thousands of dollars, couple, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000. I'm guessing. I don't know. Anyways, guys, those are some of the pros and cons of a StepVan. Alright, guys, well, there you have it. Thanks for watching, and be well, my friends.